Hello all, my name is Sara, Dietschy rhymes with Peachy. Welcome to another video. It's all about this year's 2021 iPad Pro 12.9 inch. Now the best upgrade is it gets the M1 chip. Yes, Apple's same chip from the latest MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, but other upgrades include my phone going off, 5G connectivity, and more RAM. So we have 8 gigs instead of 6 gigs in the previous iPad Pro models, and if you get the 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte SSD option, you have 16 gigs of RAM. And that's the iPad that I have with me today with 16 gigs of RAM. The USB-C is now Thunderbolt 4, yay! So that enables you to use accessories like the Samsung T7, a super speedy SSD hard drive, and allows you to connect to, those Thunderbolt docks and monitors. So now your selfie cam has more megapixels and a feature called Center Stage, which intelligently tracks you during a FaceTime call, something we've actually seen with Samsung phones. And what makes this year's 12.9 inch model unique from its 11 inch sibling is this beautiful HDR screen. It's great for professional HDR workflows, but when viewing content, watching movies, the blacks are darker and the whites are brighter. It's a lovely experience. And they have the same great high refresh rate screen. Okay, so we have the new features out of the way, but now I want to talk about what you can actually do with this thing. So thank you so much Logitech for sponsoring this video. Their Combo Touch is perfect for your iPad if you want a case, stand, and keyboard and mouse all in one. I absolutely love the flexibility you have to snap off the keyboard and use the hinge in the back to angle the iPad to my liking to write notes or scroll on the web. I don't know what sorcery they're using on this hinge in the back here, but it is so strong, but the actual case remains so thin. The woven fabric won't show dirt and the trackpad is big and responsive. You can click anywhere on it for the same great feel. Having a keyboard with your iPad is a must-have accessory, as the keyboard shortcuts have only gotten more extensive with the new iPadOS 15 update, which I'll show you in this video. So if you want to check out the Logitech Combo Touch for your iPad Pro or Air, check out my link in the description below. It would mean a lot. Okay, so at this point, I'm sure you guys have heard this. Wow, this chunk of hardware is really great, but it's the software that's holding it back, right? I know my video is late, so you've already heard that, in which, yes, it can be true at times. I want to focus on where it shines. So let's get some things out of the way, shall we? If you edit videos for a living, I'm sorry, the iPad Pro still isn't going to be your main machine. You'll just want to get one of those old-fashioned computers that they talk about. Number 2, if you just want it for taking notes and content consumption, get an iPad Air. They're awesome and have the same gorgeous flat edge design language, or you can get a 2-in-1 laptop, which you guys know I'm a fan of. And number 3, even though we all want this device to be the everything device and have Final Cut and have Logic on it, well, it's not that. Me personally, well, I would kill for a MacBook 2-in-1, but I know that will never happen. And I think that's okay for now because it does a few things just really, really well. And that brings me to my first subject, the Illustrator. When it comes to illustrators in pro apps, there's a few apps that come to mind. There's Adobe Fresco. This has vector brushes, which is really cool, and you can deal with really realistic paints and oils. And then there's Sketchbook, but the king of all of them is Procreate. I mean, Procreate is huge, not just for illustrators, but I've seen so many disciplines use it for things where the built-in, Apple markup just doesn't suffice. Like the company who's redoing our kitchen, the owner Jared was over the other day measuring our cabinets, and even he was using an iPad Pro with Procreate. The new M1 chip enables Procreate to be up to 4 times faster, and you also get more layers, going from the max of 91 to 115. And that is the same for both versions of the iPad. Now you might say, well, hey, the 1 terabyte version has 16 gigs of RAM instead of 8. Why not more layers? Well, the current operating system limits third-party apps to only use 5 gigs of RAM each. So multitasking will be better if you have several apps going at the same time while Procreate is in the background. But individual apps won't see that much of a boost, but they still see a little bit of a boost because you kind of need the context. The 2018 and 2020 iPad Pros with only 6 gigs of RAM had a 3 gig of RAM per app limit. So the RAM limit has increased per app, but since 3 was half of the 6 gigs, maybe we can get Procreate to take up 8 gigs of the 16 gig iPad Pro instead of only 5? Come on, Apple. Give us a little bit more RAM per app. Okay, Sarah, can we chill on the tech jargon? Let's talk to an actual illustrator, yeah? So this is John, he's my fiance, YouTuber, skateboarder extraordinaire, and he does a lot of illustration, and well, I'll let him explain it to you.
When I was in Korea, I saw these cute little characters, and then I started following a lot of comic artists who kind of drew these similar cute characters, and all of them sort of mentioned that they drew it on the iPad. So Sara hooked me up with her iPad Pro.
Yep. Last year's model.
So as I was using Procreate, I started watching tutorials on how to use it. I started watching drawing tutorials in general. I bought all these books on how to draw manga, etc., because I was very interested in anime. I grew up watching it. I love it. It's fun.
What's cool about you is you do have this background in design. You've been designing from baby onesies that you're selling on Etsy to your own merch for what, over 5 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
So you're used to like Adobe InDesign, and all of that was on computers, though.
Yeah, I use Illustrator for most things.
Yeah. So how was it going from that to an Apple Pencil, a glass screen?
It was way better. I mean, I think with Adobe Illustrator and using kind of any product like that, when you have a mouse, you have to figure out how to use the 10 tools that just draw a straight line. Like, it requires so many different ways to just create like a circle. And I think in Photoshop, it's like really difficult just to find a tool that can just draw a line, and it gets really frustrating. So you always want to just like be in it. I wish I could just like go inside of this app and draw with my bare hands, and then Procreate obviously is just, to me, the perfect medium behind drawing on a piece of paper and Adobe, because as soon as you draw this perfectly straight line that the app helps you create, you can alter it from the tools that you've learned in these other programs like Photoshop. So I can actually distort a line that I drew after I draw it immediately in this app. So to me, it's just the perfect blend of, you know,
It's turning into like, it sounds like an ad for Procreate.
It really does.
But really what makes the iPad special is the software. And so these apps can enable careers and enable things that you wouldn't be able to do on your laptop, even though your process is very iPad Pro, MacBook.
Yeah.
So there's still a computer involved. So even the target demo of being an illustrator, still a lot needs a computer. And now you're embarking on like a more adventurous project of doing a webtoon.
Yeah, so like a webtoon, it's an online comic with vertical frames that you can read on your phone. Currently, I'm using my laptop for a completed webtoon because I can choose whatever resolution I want. I could do it on Procreate, but I have to use multiple canvases because the max dimensions are 1600 pixels by 16,300. With the new M1 iPad, at that max resolution, I have 7 more layers, which is great. I could always use more layers.
At first I used it just as a tool to draw on Procreate, but as I started needing to have more reference files to draw figures, etc., I started downloading things off Pinterest, off the iPad, and now the iPad has kind of become my computer, period.
Ooh,
so
he said it, guys.
It's true, it's true.
Computer.
And that's the thing, if I could figure out how to use the iPad for the other programs like Premiere, that would be amazing, but for now, that's obviously what I use a desktop computer for. But yeah, I feel like the iPad is slowly transferring into my more daily use system, I guess.
Wow, so guys, as time goes on, we'll catch up with John. Maybe we'll get him in Luma Fusion or something and see if he can go full iPad. Because I know I couldn't, but I think you could.
apologies for being so nonchalant about the addition of like only 7 layers. I think that's actually a bigger deal to illustrators. They just want all the layers that they can get. So we do have an upgrade on the RAM side of things for creative apps, and it does make a difference. But hey, it would be cool to see that per app RAM limit increase from 5 gigs to say 8 gigs at least. And since we've been talking about Procreate for, well, forever, they do have a huge update around the corner. So this will be 5.2, and it'll have a feature where you can 3D paint. So you can import a 3D object and then paint on it at any angle, and then you can use AR to view your 3D creations. Now, that's gonna be sick. I don't have any professional use for that, but maybe we can take coloring books to the next level. Let's do some 3D coloring books, okay, people? Okay, so part 3, we're gonna talk about the new iPadOS 15 that you can download on your iPads come in the fall. As you can tell, look, widgets are everywhere. That is so exciting. But part 2, I'm gonna talk a little bit how I use my iPad, because I feel like it's pretty cool. It's not traditionally how people use it. Yes, I use it for note taking. I love OneNote. You guys know that is my note taker of choice. I use Notion to handle projects in between my team. Where it has really stood out for me is this little guy, the 11-inch iPad Pro. I love the 11-inch size because it just feels more natural to hold it in your hand like this, like a tablet, right? Not a computer. So interesting how passionate people defend one way or the other. The iPad is a computer. No, the iPad is not a computer. Like, who cares? It's cool, it's fine. It doesn't have to be defined by a category, everyone. But I've gotten super smitten with this device over the past year because it's kind of become like this little hub for my home production studio, if that makes sense. Now, this might be too meta, but as you can see, I'm using the Sony imaging app with my a7S III right now to view my image. Here, I can press record, so I don't have to keep getting up, walking around my desk, turning on my camera, so I can remotely trigger it from the app. I can change the f-stop and the shutter and everything like that, and I can control all of my lights. You guys know I'm a big fan of aperture lights for shooting my videos, so I have a 120D Mark I right here as my key light, and then I also have a aperture 300D Mark II behind me to get a little bit of fill light. And the 300D is just so powerful. It's actually on wheels, so we wheel it around the apartment and light ourselves, you know, wherever we are, and I love that light so much. But I can control it here with the Aperture Sidus Link app, and this is really handy. So even behind me, I have Elgato strip lights. Now this is controlled by Elgato Control Center, which is a really nice iPad app, I might add. So it's just like a little cool mini production studio for my desk. I don't know, I love it. You know, for the capturing, I mentioned the Sony imaging app, this guy. For Blackmagic cameras, Blackmagic has a really great app where you can control the cameras. They don't have a viewer like Sony does, but they have also a really cool addition where you can control multiple Blackmagic cameras and do multicam with them. It's just like, it's so cool. There's also great iPad apps out there to wirelessly monitor video. So yeah, these apps aren't just fun to play around with, but they've kind of become center to me filming a video anywhere in my apartment. And it's just made it more easy, more fun. They work, and it's been interesting to see how I use my iPad evolve, because I use it more on this desk with my desk setup and my lights and everything, more than going out and about and using it for, you know, emails and productivity stuff like that. Like it literally stays on my desk and is at the center of every single time I film. So say you're like, okay, Sarah, that's cool. So video production, video editing. Well, yes, at the top of the video, I said, you just stop trying to make your iPad your main computer if you're a video editor. But hearing John, again, talking to like real creatives, hearing John say, hey, so much of my process is at the center of this iPad that if I could video edit on it, if I could have Premiere, then I would. And hey, speaking of multicam, maybe you just did some multicam action with your Blackmagic, controlling it via the iPad app, and you want to bring it into a video editor on your iPad to edit it. Well, LumaFusion, which is a very impressive video editor app for your iPad, actually can do multicam now. Well, next month it can with a new update, but I got a chance to kind of test out the beta, and it's really impressive. Now that doesn't come without caveats. Remember, professional video workflows on the iPad, I just believe still are not there, but LumaFusion is the closest. So even though my experience with the multicam editing was actually pretty smooth, well, guess what? There was a computer in the middle of that workflow, which kind of defeats the purpose. So LumaFusion actually doesn't support a lot of video codecs. Now, if you're going from maybe like a Sony camera, the odds are you'll be okay going straight from the camera to your iPad, but when you go beyond these codecs, well, you need to transcode. You need to hop on a computer. The Blackmagic footage was ProRes, and you can't edit ProRes on an Apple machine. Apple created ProRes. So I don't know if that is something LumaFusion can update in the future, which would be awesome, or if just the iPad itself doesn't support that. But you know, that's just an example of where you're like, dang, there's a gap in the workflow. Just use a computer. So things are so close. Maybe in the next decade we can use the iPad as a full computer, maybe, but I think we're missing the point here. They don't want the iPad to become a MacBook, and it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so part 3 to this impossibly long video, my last iPad review, which still stands up today. If you really want to know the intricacies of the iPad Pros, you can check that out. That video was, I think, 30 minutes, and it got so many views. So many of y'all watched it. Thank you so much. So I am less scared to make this video long, if that's okay with you guys. Okay, so part 3, iPadOS 15. Now this will be public. It's in beta right now. It'll be public in the fall for everyone to download. Like I said earlier, widgets aren't limited to the Today view over on the side of the iPad, but now you can take widgets and move them wherever you want on the screen. This is so exciting because now you can just have like a full page of Notion widgets where it's just like a launch pad of your different pages. There's just a ton of possibilities. And you know what? I forgot to even talk about the new white case. Goodness gracious. Okay, get the case over here. I have an entire video dedicated to the Magic Keyboard if you want to watch it. So the only update is the actual color, but it's completely magnetic. So you just put the iPad on it like that and it stays on. Nice, cool. Obviously, why that's handy is you can just take it on and off if you want to write notes and then you want to use it as a computer, you put it on like that. The only thing I will say is the fact that it just really lacks the versatility if you use the iPad for notes, drawing, illustration. It's really like computer, or you take it off and you draw flat on your desk. Okay, so let's compare this white Magic Keyboard on the 12-inch iPad compared to the dark gray Magic Keyboard that my 11-inch is using from last year. And oh my gosh, I'm just noticing, look at the smudges on my freaking case. Sorry. Should have cleaned that, but that leads to a really great point. Okay, so if you want to deal with smudges, and yes, you can smudge them out, it just takes some aggressive wiping. Get the dark gray one and it will be more resistant to like permanent stains. And then what I found with using the white Magic Keyboard is, hey, to the casual fingerprints, as you can tell, you don't see really any fingerprints, right? It's pretty resistant against that, and I love that. However, I would not eat a piece of pizza around this guy. Like, no way. It'll be really easy to actually permanently stain, I'm sure, and then it'll show maybe, you know, some wear over the years. I'm sure it'll get a little bit darker, but for the short term, you know, I've been using it for a couple months. I still think it looks like really, really great. Oh, weird. I'm just noticing also, because I use the 11-inch so often, on the 12.9-inch version of the Magic Keyboard, you actually don't get that much articulation back. Like, this is as how far back your iPad can go. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't like that. I want it farther back. Okay, ultimately the decision is up to you. You know, you have these Magic Keyboards. They're more on the pricey end, but you also have their normal keyboard accessories. And I recommend just whatever you do, like just get a keyboard for the iPad, because with the shortcuts and with it being more computer-like, a keyboard is just a super powerful companion. And like I said earlier, you know, this video is sponsored by Logitech, and this case is just it is so great. It is so light compared to the Magic Keyboard. And it also has that versatility in terms of viewing it. It can be at any angle you'd like, using it as a computer, using it to, you know, write notes. And the keyboard just uses the smart connector, and just with magnets, boop, you're off to the races. Okay, so now that we have a keyboard attached, let's talk about what to expect with iPadOS 15. So when it comes to multitasking, you have more ways to get into split screen mode and slide over mode. For example, I just showed you my workflow. You can now set up shortcuts to put certain apps in split screen mode. So I basically have a shortcut that launches the Aperture and Elgato apps. Those are the two lighting apps that I use. So with a press of a button, boom, they're right there and I get to adjust in. Okay, so here is how you usually get an app into split view mode. You grab it, drag it over, split view, and you can adjust it like that. How you get it into slide over mode is you put it on top of the app, and then you can scroll through your slide over apps there. I think a lot of people just didn't learn the gestures, and it was kind of confusing, especially once you had a keyboard and mouse. But now every app has these 3 dots at the top, and it's gonna let you know, hey, do you wanna slide it over to the right and pick another app? So let's do that. Boom, it puts it in slide over mode. Boom, it puts it in split view. So I think this makes multitasking a little bit more straightforward for people, but I actually like to use the keyboard for some of these shortcuts. If you're curious about all of the shortcuts, you can just hold down the globe button and you'll see here you have multitasking and system shortcuts. And what's really cool is now you kind of have like Windows-like snapping, which I love. So you can use Control plus the globe key for split view, and then Option plus the globe key for slide over, and just choose what direction you want with the arrows. Holding down the globe key and pressing left or right allows you to navigate your full screen apps. Something really cool that's coming to iPadOS and iOS is focus. Now there's a couple ways to use this. One way is to put your device on Do Not Disturb, and if someone decides to text you, they'll get notified that, hey, I'm in Do Not Disturb, that's why I'm not answering your text messages. But another cool way is to really organize your home screen to what you're doing. So right here we have the different modes of focus. So let's go into work, and as you can tell, I've already customized the people. Okay, so allow notifications from me, Sarah, because this is technically, I guess, John's iPad. So when I'm working, the only person who can text me and I'll see the notification is Sarah. And these are the only apps that I'm going to allow notifications from. And this is where it gets cool, because you can customize your home screen based on what focus mode you're in. So let's just say custom pages, and I basically already organized this in a favorable way. So I only want the first page, that's my work page. I don't want the other one. So I'm gonna say done, and then I'm gonna go to personal focus. I'm just gonna say no one can notify me, no apps, allow time-sensitive things. Then I'm gonna say customize the home screen, and the custom page I'm gonna have is this entertainment page that I set up. Okay, so as you can see here, I have all of my pages, but hey, it's time to work, so I'm gonna go into focus and say work. Now we go. There's no more pages. When I scroll to my right, we now have the app library like we have on the iPhone. And so this is gonna keep me focused on, okay, Procreate, calendar, notes, ready to work. Let's switch over to personal here. And as you see, it changes my home screen. And I just have all of my entertainment apps, and that's the only thing that matters to me. So as I'm sure we're on minute 20, or dare I say even 30, I think I'm gonna reserve talking about some of the new notes features in a dedicated video, because it's a lot. But if you don't wanna watch that at a later time, let's just go through it super quick. Okay, so there's a new thing called Quick Note. From sliding from the bottom, you can make a quick note. You can also swipe through them from left to right. If you're on a web page, it'll save the web page and keep it attached to the note. You can now use hashtag tags to organize different notes, and also smart folders to group those tags together into smart folders. You can now mention people and they'll get notifications. There's an activity feed, and you can search words in notes, and it'll also scan sketches. So it's just gotten really smart, and there's a lot to it, and that's why I kind of want to do a dedicated video. But if you didn't know about that, now you know. And you know what, guys, I think it's time to end this video. Sorry it took so long. These videos tend to take me a while because I like to spend a lot of time with the device to figure out what I want to talk about. And as we just are ending, a light went out. Oh no, my hair light went out. This was my, aw, that's a little bit of a bummer. We were so close. I was doing the outro. You know, the hair light gives you a little pop in the back here, so it separates you from the background, if you didn't know the purpose of that. Okay, I would smash that like button if you made it to the end. You are a true watcher of content. Congratulations. And make sure to subscribe for more videos every single week, and check out the awesome Logitech combo touch case. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring this epic iPad video of epic proportions. Okay, like, sub, and stay peachy. Okay, bye.